The big three: Giant, Trek, and Specialized. These companies have ruled over the cycling world for decades now. Specialized in particular is known for its aggressive "we are the premier race brand" marketing. But let's take a gander at how exactly they got to where they are. So I have to be completely honest before we even dive into the history of Specialized and their inception, how they came to be. I am not a big Specialized fan. I have done a video on Specialized previously, really just covering how many times they have sued people and what they have sued them for. I try to be a little unbiased in my videos, but you can't take rhetoric out of everything. So let's jump into it. Let's just do a quick history of Specialized bicycles. The official name for Specialized is Specialized Bicycle Components, and they were started in 1974 by none other than Mike Sinyard. Mike was a cycling enthusiast, or is, I guess, a cycling enthusiast who saw a gap in the market. He sold his van to fund a cycling trip to Italy, where he came back with Cinelli components and started selling them in the US. This led Mike to start importing these Specialized bicycle components. But by 1976, Specialized started to produce their own products with a touring tire. At a time when BMX was taking off like a friggin' rocket, Specialized came out with its first two bikes, a touring bicycle and of course the infamous Ale road bike, both in 1981. So one of my favorite components of this story is who Mike was friends with at the time. You had Gary Fisher, Tom Ritchie, Joe Breeze, all of these forefathers and founders of the mountain bike we all know and love. Mike was a road cyclist at heart, but he started to see the allure of off-road riding. And by allure, I mean the money. You have to remember, before the 80s, people were essentially modding beach cruisers and flying downhills on them. That was mountain biking at the time. This is quite literally the birth of mountain biking. So you have people like Tom Ritchie that started making the world's first true dedicated mountain bike, hand-built custom frames. Mike saw how popular these things were, and well, let's just let Gary Fisher himself explain the situation.
Mike, senior, good friend, good guy, really respect him. Mike, I used to buy parts from. Every now and again, Mike would say, "I want a bike. Can you get me a bike?" I said, "Sure, Mike, I can get you a bike." I'd bring him a bike. What's Mike gonna do with the bike? Mike's gonna ride the bike. Yeah, Mike's gonna ride the bike. Mike said, "I rode the bike. The bike's great. I love it. I love it." What's Mike gonna do? Mike's gonna make a bike himself one of these days. Yeah, he will.
And Specialized Bicycles, took one of Tom's bikes and took it overseas in Japan and basically had a copy of it made and then brought to the show as the stumpjumper.
Next thing the Repack Ridge boys knew, Mike and Specialized had taken their custom hand-built frames to Japan and created the world's first mass-produced mountain bike with the stumpjumper that sold for a whopping $750. This is where Mike Sinyard started to not sit well with me. The essential inception of Specialized was shady, in my opinion. And I get it. The guys that were doing the Repack Ridge rides were essentially anti-culture hippies that loved mountain biking. They didn't have a patent on these things, and Mike saw an opportunity. But according to them, they were Mike's friends at the time, and he essentially went behind their backs, stole their mountain bike design, and started mass producing the product that, in my opinion, put Specialized on the map. None of this is illegal, of course, but it still doesn't sit well with me, which is probably why I'm a terrible business person, maybe. This is kind of like Mike Sinyard's word versus all the other founders of mountain biking. Like, all of them kind of corroborate? I think that's the correct term there. All of them corroborate this story. All of them kind of corroborate this story of him taking their mountain bike design and mass producing it, kind of without informing them that he was going to do that, but we don't know what was exactly said behind closed doors. Mike Sinyard claims that the design came from Tim Neenan of Lighthouse Frames. At the time, Tim was actually designing off-road bikes based around the 700C wheel that was popular in Europe. Think cyclocross bikes. Now, a lot of people claim that when Mike purchased that initial batch of Ritchie mountain bikes, it was Tim's job to reverse engineer them before going to Japan. But with all that said, the one thing you can't deny Specialized is that they were the first to mass produce an affordable mountain bike, bringing this glorious sport that I love to the masses. Specialized used an aggressive marketing campaign, and their first batch of 250 stump jumpers sold out in just 2 weeks. Thanks to their marketing and their affordability, this kick-started the mountain bike craze of the 80s. Like I said before, Specialized has always been a hungry marketing machine, and in 1983 they founded the world's first mountain bike team. This team would be integral in testing the product and giving Specialized ideas on how to improve their bikes and, well, also helping them to sell bikes. And in 1989, Specialized introduced the second ever mass-produced carbon fiber mountain bike, dubbed the Epic. In 1995, Specialized was really on its way to becoming one of the biggest bicycle companies in the world, but they decided to launch a brand called Full Force with the aim of bringing a lower-end mountain bike brand to the masses sold through sporting goods stores and discount retailers such as Costco. The move angered a lot of Specialized dealers. In 1996, Specialized withdrew the Full Force line, and Mike Signard had to write, he didn't have to, but Mike Signard wrote a letter of apology to the dealers. By the end of 1996, Specialized had lost 30% of its bike shop sales, and according to Signard, came within a few $100 of declaring bankruptcy. This is all a very important point that we will put a pin in and come back to in a little bit. Now, I did a video of all of the many lawsuits Specialized has been involved in, and you can find that video in a corner, but I'm not going to go over it in depth, but a big part of their history, in my opinion, is their lawsuits. Specialized went on a freaking lawsuit craze to the point that it's actually a heading on their wiki page. They sued everyone from Robbie Gordon to a small bike shop in Canada. They seem to have taken a little step back when it comes to lawsuits as of recently, but I really believe this was all a part of Specialized's bigger effort to push their brand image, not so much their product. The next big change for Specialized involves a big manufacturer by the name of Merida Bikes. In 2001, Merida Bikes of Taiwan bought a minority share of Specialized. Most sources can't really agree on the exact amount, but it was anywhere from 30 to 49%, with Mike Signard remaining majority owner and CEO of the company. Which, this is exactly why we don't see Merida bikes here in the States that often, because they would simply be competing with Specialized, which in turn is competing with themselves. In the time period after 2001, Specialized continued to evolve into this mammoth of a company. Every year they seemed to get bigger and bigger until 2002, where Mike Signard decided to step down as CEO. Now, Mike is still employed by Specialized, he just isn't the head honcho anymore. My personal opinion is that Mike simply wanted to take a step back. I mean, he is 74 years old at the time of this video, and I think he made this widely successful company and finally wants to take a step back. But his departure does come at an interesting time for Specialized. And to me, Specialized is they sell their brand image. Their marketing is top notch. Their product, like, I think Giant Trek Specialized, if you're buying a $5,000 to $10,000 mountain bike, you're going to be satisfied no matter which of those three you go with. They all make good bikes. But right around the time of COVID, that's when I think Specialized is in the midst of their next big change in their history of Specialized. That is because during the COVID boom, Specialized started doing some crummy business practices. For starters, let's just go over the consumer direct. Oh yeah, you've been sleeping, huh? Yep, gotta get in the video, huh? You're a good boy. Okay, go lay down. But bike sales were skyrocketing during COVID. I remember being at the bike shop, having to keep the door locked, go out the back door. The line to get in a bicycle shop, a local business, was wrapped around the building. That isn't heard of. I don't know if we'll ever see that again, but Specialized was capitalizing on it. And whenever the government started implementing those stay-at-home orders, Specialized kind of slipped in this direct-to-consumer model, even though they still have a bunch of bike shops. At the same time, Specialized started buying up local bike shops at an alarming rate. And now the latest rumor is some sort of partnership with Walmart. I don't know how true the Walmart partnership rumor is, but there's been a couple sales reps that come in asking about it or commenting on it. It's kind of up in the air. Which, this goes back to that full force line of bikes that almost sent Specialized into bankruptcy. If all the rumors are true, it would make sense that this time Specialized tries to break into the box store market, that they actually own a lot of small shops that only carry their premium products. That way, it is harder for them to lose dealers because they own them. That gets you up to speed on Specialized. I know this is a very broad brushstroke, where I just hit the big high points in Specialized history, but in my opinion, these are the most important moments. If I missed anything, like always, please leave a comment and fill in the gaps. I think Mike Signard is essentially like the Henry Ford of the mountain bike. He did not invent the mountain bike, but by God, he brought it to the masses. And that is one thing you can't take away from Specialized. They started really the globalization of the mountain bike craze. Please, if you have anything to add, do so down below. I love doing these quicker 10 to 15 minute history style topics. Kind of gives you a broad brushstroke behind some of these companies, some of the more interesting points on them. If you've stuck around this long and you got something out of the video, please hit the like button, subscribe. All that stuff helps to support this channel so I can keep making these videos. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.